Hello there and welcome to this vlog of September 2023. This is the second video that will drop today. Luckily I got a bit of a window over lunch to do a little bit of recording, so I thought I'd take advantage of it given that this is the last day of the Kickstarter. So what I'll do is I'm just going to do this as like a end of summer, beginning of autumn, like BattleTech update. I did a similar type of video several weeks ago, like a mid-year update of like the state of the union within the kind of BattleTech IP. So this will be the same kind of video, and it's a good day to do it because as of now, 15th of September 2023, the Kickstarter will close in somewhere between 12 and 18 hours, depending on what time zone. Guessing it's like Western US time because they are, as a company, Catalyst are based out in Washington State, I believe. So yeah, it won't be midnight our time, so it's several hours away. Let's just say that. So I suppose first on an announcement level, if you have bought the Kickstarter and you want to purchase further things from the Kickstarter, they've got a full storefront. You can go in there. You can still add things. You can also do an amend to your previous order. You get to do that once, I believe now. So like if you haven't done it already and had it locked in, you can do it up to the end of today, wherever you are in the world. Again, if you are watching this, then go and look into that if you've missed this or you haven't put your order in or whatever else. If you've done the order previously, I am guessing that will just lock in automatically. So no harm, no foul. Bit disappointing, I suppose, if you did want to add something and then forgot to do it or whatever. But such is life. The one thing that I've got no idea how they do is if people just don't put their order in, and I guarantee to you there'll be dozens of people who do that. If I were Catalyst, I'd just auto select for them. In terms of, if you've gone in at battalion level, I'd just give them whatever random swag comes up, press a button, there you go. But I don't know, maybe they'll be much nicer than I would be and reach out to people, who knows. So, yeah, that's just like the first announcement here. Make sure that you are all locked in. I did it several days ago. It's really quite simple. I did a video must have been 6 weeks ago now, just expressing a few concerns on the Kickstarter. That has all been addressed by the looks of it. When I've got my backer kit data now, it matches up with the email. I think previously I'd had a bit of angst of the two didn't marry up, and I was I could get the wrong order here. But now when I've redone the pledge, it all matches. So it looks like exactly what I've ordered is the data that they have got, and that actually does please me because I'd spent a lot of time planning my forces, given that I'd spent several $1,000s on this. So it wouldn't have been the end of the world if I'd have got the wrong order. I'd have just gone on eBay and done swapsies with people or whatever, but it just means a bit more work. So glad that I'm 99% sure that it's fine and that it should be fine for everyone. Guessing that through the backer kit system, it all just drops into an Excel or something soft Excel like software. So when you put your order in, it just kind of, you get this through software packages like Salesforce or whatever else companies use. There are dozens of them around, and they're all good. They're all kind of based on solid software. So I'd imagine BackerKit are just our data that we see on front end drops into a back end Excel package or something like that, and then when they're doing those orders, the pickers and the people in the warehouses then can just say, oh, here is the order for John Smith, and then he wants two of these and one of these and one of these and everything else. So should all be absolutely fine. The big question though is going to be now on delivery. So now it looks like they've sorted out all the backer kit stuff, which I'm really, really glad about because I think that would have been really traumatic for the community and Catalyst especially. That would have been horrifying. So That all looks all right. Now the question turns to delivery dates and, or like the processing of the orders. I mean, they did say June 2024. I think, when I was more optimistic before, like the Kickstarter just went on forever. I mean, this was like started back in, was it like March, April time, somewhere like that. So, you have a situation there really where we are now in September. So it's just kind of been on and off. Like they kept closing it, reopening it, but today is the official final day. It's all going to close. I do therefore think that June, as long as they've been getting all the products made out in Southeast Asia, I think they're doing it in China, obviously, in terms of all the factory production. I'd heard good things. I'd heard that the factories were already kind of in motion and they'd got all their designs and they were producing most of the plastics. That's a really good sign, obviously, because if they can then get shipping in, say, like relatively early, so you're talking, you know, I mean, best case scenario, you get it shipped in before Christmas. So, you could get it all on the boats by like November, December, though Christmas might really interfere with that in terms of like supply and demand. So maybe they'd look to do it in like January and it'll probably become a lot quieter. But who knows? And I'm not in that sector, so I don't know the kinds of ins and outs. It could be that November is the best time to do it because maybe they put more shipping lines on or more ships operate or whatever else because of Christmas. I don't know. So, let's just say that it gets shipped in January. It's then going to take at least like 2 to 3 months, and that's best case scenario, right? That's like, oh, there's no COVID outbreaks in a Chinese city that closes down the dock. Or, we have that like evergreen scenario where the ship gets stuck in the canal. So, which still makes me laugh when I see pictures of that. But, there are lots of variables that can happen. Obviously, they're all going to their continental home bases. So, for instance, if you ordered the Kickstarter in the US, they're going to presumably just have hubs out in California. I mean, it'd be crazy for them to do it on the East Coast. Otherwise, the ship would have to go. I mean, they might travel over land once they get in. Yeah, obviously, they will travel over land when they get into the West Coast. But the shipping will presumably pull in at like one of the docks in the Western United States. In Europe, I believe that the UK has its own centre. They certainly did last time. So they'll come in through one of our ports. I think the other big European hub is Germany. So that presumably be Hamburg. That's the kind of big commercial port in northern Germany, and Asia will have theirs as well. Australia will have theirs, and then the distribution centres will then get the orders out. And last time, honestly, I didn't have any issues whatsoever. I think we signed up for the Kickstarter. I'm just trying to think of timelines here. I think it was like the summer of 2020. I'm guessing it was like as COVID was kind of happening. I remember that much. They then reopened the window in autumn 2020, and I remember getting the shipment. It's when I started a new job, so it will have been September, maybe late August, or early September 2021. So you're talking like 14-month turnaround, which actually for a Kickstarter is actually quite good, I think. Especially one of even the Clan Invasion Kickstarter was a big one. This is obviously a much bigger Kickstarter though, so there might be some more unforeseen problems. But the only problems that I've been trepidatious about on on the comms level, which is the only thing we can read, the kind of comms that they are putting out, was on the backer kit. I was slightly concerned, and I did express concern over that. Luckily, though, that all seems to have been sorted and managed correctly. If my example is anything to go by anyway, so now the second hurdle is the shipping, and then the third hurdle will be the distribution, because the distribution can be problematic as well, because they're in the hands of third parties from here on out. So that's all good. In terms of like general news on tabletop, it's been really, really quiet, which I think is a very good sign. It means that Catalyst are really orientated. Well, you can see where their orientations are quite rightly. The first is on the conferences, so you can see they're always at, whether it's like Gen Con, Adepticon, they've always got like a big presence there. So they've been doing those, I think, a lot over the summer. Certainly, I've seen like promotional stuff for it. That's great for them from like a PR promotional standpoint. Great, that's where their energy should be, but now I think their energy will absolutely shift towards the Kickstarter. So to make sure that, probably all hands on deck to make sure that all that data is correct, to make sure that the factories are doing what they need to do, to make sure that the shipping lines and, the containers that they've ordered or however else they've done it, it's all sorted out. You can see if you go onto like the BattleTech news site, there's like a bespoke channel that you can it's just a website with BattleTech news on it that Catalyst run. I think Aaron at Catalyst runs that. I can see his name kind of on the publications. Anyway, I think the last piece of news they dropped was in like mid-June this year. So you're talking like nearly, I think it was June. No, sorry, it might have been July actually. So it'll be, I think, about 8-9 weeks ago, something like that. That to me is a good sign because it means that they're prioritising what they should be prioritising. In fact, I would hope now that we will get no new products on the tabletop front. So I'm talking like about force packs and things of that nature. I don't think we're going to get anything now for a long time. You might get like a new unit. They do those Monster Fight Club, I think it is, do the little packs where you get like a unique mech. You might get a few of those, but I think we've had so much this year and so much great stuff. And I did a video recently on just how amazing the new plastics are. Like, they've always been good, but they've really kind of ramped up the quality now. So I'm expecting fantastic things from this Kickstarter. It's just really interesting to see that. Like, it's not a mass jump in quality, really, because the quality of the previous plastics was fantastic, but it's like a 5% incremental increase, and the designs are just more. They just seem more dynamic and more adventurous, and I love that. I'm really, really happy that they've done that instead of like just keeping to convention. And I'm just hoping now we get this like influx of like redesigns for mechs that need it, and just things like that, just to really kind of galvanize or build on the platform that we've already got now. So that's great to see. So. Yeah, but again, I wouldn't expect much at all over the next like few months anyway. I think they will have it. Presumably, they'll have like a big sales push during Christmas, but that they've already got all the products, right? So like they can do a big push on things they've already got, like the mercenary packs or the force packs or the books or the TROs or the Game of Armored Combat, things like that. Like, these things are still in print, and if I were them, I'd kind of orientate to what I had. Just to kind of, again, galvanise the fan base, get some new people on board, that kind of thing. So, great. Let's go into like BattleTech Digital then, because we had a massive leak just recently, just over the last I think like day or so. I've been really busy with work this week, so I was actually out of like circulation for about 3 days with like events, but. I've come back and I saw this last night. I saw Big Red 40k or Big Red. I think he just calls himself Big Red now. He might have dropped the 40k thing. Great guy though, great channel. He's one of the kind of core BattleTech content producers now, which I'm really glad about because he deserves it. He's a good guy and he's really good on the lore side of it. He dropped a video about the kind of the Reddit leak that MechWarrior 5 is going to get. Well, I've got to be careful with my terminologies here. It's not clan DLC. It's going to be like, I don't know. You put this MechWarrior 5.1 clan, right? Something like that. Now I'm quite proud of myself because the last time that I did this video, so like the BattleTech news roundup, whenever it was, 2 or 3 months ago. I predicted then, because we talked then about the announcement of the soon to be released DLC, which is the War of 3039, which I think, just looking at my calendar, I think that drops in like a week or two. It's like the 20 something of September. So you're talking maybe like 10 days or something like that. Which I'm super excited about because the War of 3039 is actually my favourite era in BattleTech. So I'm really, really keen to play that through. I remember saying at the time, and I think I've not watched that. I never watched these videos back, by the way, just in case you're ever wondering. But I'm pretty sure that I said at that, I was like, oh, I hope the next thing that they do, because it's natural to go from the War of 3039 into the clan invasion, because it's literally like a decade after that. And I said in that specifically, I said, what I don't want them to do though is just run it as like a DLC and a patch for like $10. I want them to make a proper game of it. So I want them to charge 30, $40 for it. I want it to be part of the MechWarrior 5 engine, which is way better than it was when it started. It's still problematic, and a lot of people have problems with like the AI, and it's true. It's a game that's a little bit too easy, to be honest, especially if you're kind of embedded in like BattleTech culture and you kind of know the weaponry and the strengths and weaknesses of mechs and things like that. But all that aside, I still think it's a really, really good like iteration of BattleTech. It feels like BattleTech now. I still have some problems with its tone. I've spoken about this before. If you want BattleTech tone done correctly, go and play the Hairbrain Scheme game from 2018. It's kind of that. It's got a real dark side and it's quite grim, but on the other side, it's very quirky and colourful, and there's a real beauty and like an enigmatic element to BattleTech, which is for me why I love it so much. It kind of takes on that like 80s or 1950s optimism and culture, and then puts it into this like space opera. But you do get those elements where it's not shying away from like the horrors of war and things of that nature, but it's all included really in that Hairbrain Schemes game. I always found MechWarrior 5 to be too like colourful, too like especially given that it starts at the end of the Succession Wars, it feels very flavoursome for what should be quite a dark period of time. Now though, if they're going to kind of continue on with that like that tone, for want of a better expression, that's good for the clan invasion, because the clan invasion is very then colourful, because the inner sphere at that juncture is kind of sorted a lot of itself out. They've got new technology, things are kind of on the up, but the clans come in and the clans are just so ridiculous, right? Like you've got these crazy mechs and they're all like these very individualistic people with like crazy haircuts, and they've got like the embedded facial sensors or whatever they call them. They just look. I mean, just go look at like the cartoon from the early 90s and look at the kind of clan, how Clan Jade Falcon are depicted in that. And I know that's very heightened because it's a kids' cartoon, but they are colourful, or more colourful as an entity. So if they're going to incorporate that theme and style over to like the clan invasion, I think that actually suits quite well then. So I'm really looking forward to that. But more importantly, they're doing it as much as the way that Warhammer Total War do it. And this is what I predicted back in the summer, and this is why I'm quite like, oh, I should go into like gaming sales. I think I'd be, I must have a good like nose for it, because they've done exactly what I would have done, which is to just do away with a DLC, which is just too small. You don't want to be charging people $6, $10 for a small patch on what is a major storyline event. Get them to pay $30 and then, coin in as much as you can and release it as like, I mean, in Total War, they actually give it a new number. So you have Total War 1, 2, and 3. And each one incorporates the last game, so you can still play on the same map. It's got the same factions. It's just that it's like very, very enhanced DLC with a whole new like either an engine or the way that the game plays or factions or everything else. And I mean, I don't really play Total War Warhammer, but I buy them just to keep up to it, because I do like the old world Warhammer stuff. I used to like that when I was a kid, so it's just interesting for me to see all those factions come into play. And I think now you've got like everything. You've got like Chaos Dwarfs in there. You've got like Lizard Men. It's pretty interesting. Just to go on the map and have a look around it, you're like, wow, this looks fantastic. I know the gameplay, I think there are some issues with that in terms of Total War. I know a few people have moaned about it, but I don't really play it. I just do it so I can read the spiel and see the units and see the graphics and whatnot. But MechWarrior is going down the same line. So I think it looks like from the leak that we have seen, it's just called MechWarrior Clans. Something, that's it. So there's no, like, it's not called MechWarrior 6. Again, so I suppose in technological sense, it would be MechWarrior 5.1, like I say. That's great though. Really, really excited to see that. It's been a long journey for MechWarrior 5. It did start out really, really rough. I think even like core BattleTech fans were like, ugh, this is not good. And that's saying something, given that, I mean, and not to sound too prickly, but I've tried to play MechWarrior online and find it actually unplayable. So I'm just delighted that there is a shooty computer game for BattleTech that people can get on board and enjoy. Not for me. I am not a big shooty player. If I'm playing games, I mean, what I found myself recently, and I don't play video games very much at all, but I found myself playing that Dyson Sphere game where you have to build the big Dyson Sphere around the sun with a little robot. I've been playing that like on and off for about 5 months, and it's like a big project manager game. It's very relaxing and therapeutic. Like you build, I like things where you build things, not where you tear them down. So or shoot things. So for me, I either like the strategy games or the buildy games. So I kind of under duress play MechWarrior 5 because I have to in my if I want to do videos like this or like working with DFA or whatever, I need to kind of keep up to it. I am shockingly good at it as well. I'm really surprised. I thought I'd have to like play it on easy mode and I'd just be terrible at it, but I absolutely like smash that game to pieces. I'm just really, really good at it, which is shocking because I'm now like an old man and 40 years old, so I don't know how I've kind of kept my hand-eye coordination, but there you go. So yeah, that's something to look out for. This is a leak. It's unofficial, so I hope no one gets in trouble for it. There's no time frames on it. It was just a release that came through PC Gamer. So we've just kind of seen articles. It's I know people will be like, "Oh, is this fake? Is it real?" It's quite obviously real because there's all the graphic artwork there. So unless someone has gone absolutely crazy and gone to commission artworks to do a hoax, then I mean, kudos to them. They got me because I'm looking at this and being like, "Oh yeah, this is clearly like a PC Gamer article." So there you go. I think in terms of time frames, I'm guessing. I mean, if they've got artwork out and they're kind of working with the magazines now to get this, to start doing the communications on it and the sales publicity and whatnot, I'm guessing it will be like, I don't know, spring, summer next year, something like that. I mean, you're thinking now it's September and they're just about to release that new DLC. So if they've still got teams actively working on it, there's no reason they won't start up, in October. It's obviously going to take them a few months, but it looks like, even from the artwork we've seen, it's like they've clearly been thinking about it and they've, whether they've storyboarded everything in terms of the storyline or whether they've decided on all the mechs or whatever else. You can ascertain some data from there. It looks absolutely like Clan Invasion era, so it's going to be 3050. That makes a lot of sense. It looks like it's just the four main invasion like corridor clans. So that's Clan Wolf, Clan Smoke Jaguar, Clan Jade Falcon, Clan Ghostbar. That makes sense as well. I think any more than that is far too what's the word? It's far too complex for new players. I think just having 4 clans is absolutely fine. Obviously, as you kind of get into like Tukiid, you kind of get more clans coming around. So you get like Diamond Shark and Steel Viper, but and then obviously if you get into kind of the Fedcom Civil War, they all kind of make some appearance. I mean, obviously there are home clans as well, but you just get a lot more like things going on in terms of what the clans are doing. Yeah, and you then get things like with the Rasselhag, like Clan Ghostbear, unification or annexing, whatever you want to call it. So I think this one will be within like a 2-year window. I'm guessing from like the first time the Innisphere come across the clans up to Tukiid. So that's, I think technically that's 3049 to 3052. So you're talking maybe like 2.5 years, something along those lines. So yeah, super interested to see what they do with that. Really hope that they just. I would like to see MechWarrior 5 as actually the last MechWarrior game, and I like with Total War Warhammer, you don't need to go and like redesign the wheel every 3 years, and it's not even like you're saying to the fan base, oh, yeah, we're just going to make you buy this like what is effectively really enhanced DLC every 3 years. This will be a new game with a host of new factions. And it's like I know people criticize this. I know people like give a lot of heat to Total War for how much it costs. But my goodness, the game looks incredible. I mean, again, I don't play it enough to give a critique of it. But every time I get some, a piece of DLC will come out for like £5, and it's like, oh, you get these two new warlords that have got new units with them. Yeah, that's fine. Or like they brought the third version of the game out, and you get like a whole new map to play on, and like loads of new factions and new artwork. And yeah, okay, it is expensive. It's $40-50 or something like that for a game, but it is effectively a new game if you kind of think about it. Really, the DLC isn't. Obviously, you don't have to buy all the DLC where you can get like the extra characters and things of that nature. But I think MechWarrior really needs to just look at Total War and just emulate it, just copy it, and just say, okay, well, when we've done the 30, well, next year when they've done the clan invasion, maybe wait then 2 years before you do another big release, and do a couple of smaller releases. So you could do like, let's say you did in March, you released, in fact, I think they'll probably do what I'm about to say here. In March, you released the clan invasion, and then in October next year, you release the Battle of Tukid. Right? That'd be pretty cool. And then you can kind of, draw a line under it then, let it settle, wait another year, do some development, whatever, and then you announce that you are doing like the FedCom Civil War. In fact, no, if you really want to do it justice historically, you do Operation Bulldog first, and then you can really expand that map into like the clan home territories, and eventually, they'll have like an area of the game which is just like all the Inner Sphere factions with the corridor that goes out into the periphery. And then they can start, after they've done kind of the big storylines and they've done the the FedCom Civil War, that's the other big one as well. If I were them at that junction, given how toxic it is, I'd just kind of bypass the whole Jihad and Dark Age situation, and I'd just then, within maybe 4 or 5 years, you just pick up in 3150, and then you can really start to kind of, you could do like the new campaigns that follow the new books, or you can do like spin-offs out on the periphery. So I mean, as a for instance, the 2018 Harebrained Scheme game, which followed the Arano Restoration, which is out in kind of the southern tip of like the BattleTech map, like between the Taurian Concordat and the Magistry of Canopus. Maybe do something there. I mean, that is official now. That is in canon. That area exists. It's been created. It's got like characters and the timeline. So pick up with the the family and the dynasty of that power, and do their story in 3150 or whatever. You could do all kinds of elaborate things with that. Ties in nicely as well to the Harebrained Scheme game, and it'll be maybe like 7-8 years after that dropped. It's still a very popular game, still gets a lot of as far as I'm aware, they don't release anything for it anymore, but it's still very popular. So yeah, very exciting time. Delighted that again, to reiterate on the Kickstarter, delighted that isn't problematic now. We'll just see where we're at in terms of delivery. I'm going to predict, I think it will be summer next year. I think June it'll either be May to July next year, I think. I think it'll be quicker than the last one because I think they've learnt a lot, and they've already started to do a lot of the plastic development already. Apparently they've been doing it for months, so that's a really good sign. Great news on the digital front as well with the clan invasion coming up hopefully next year, but again, no timelines on that. Expect a bit quieter things on the front, I think, in terms of news. I mean, that's just the way it is, and it's good as well. It gives us a nice, honestly, while this Kickstarter's been open, I just feel like we've been in purgatory with BattleTech, because obviously Catalyst are so centered on getting that right that they can't go to like the development boards anyway. So it's just let them concentrate and do their thing. Gives me time now to paint all the many mechs that I've still got. I've got about 130 left to paint before the next Kickstarter comes. So that's going to be interesting. I suppose I better deal with the elephant in the room. Literally, well, not an elephant, but the big chair in the room, which is at the back of me. You can see I've had a bit of a change around here. If you ever watched me if you ever watched me before, I used to have some tables set up there and a lot of my terrain under the desk. What I've done is I'm getting an extension built, over there, basically, side of my house. And I am going to create it into a big gaming room. So I've moved, all this will stay. I'm going to keep all the kind of shelving with the paraphernalia, because I like, this is like my office, right? So I've got like all my PCs set up here, my work computers and everything. And I know it's weird, but therapy-wise, I like to be around my collection because it's very colourful, and it's just nice. It's nice to kind of have it in close proximity. So all this will be staying up here, but the actual tabletop element, it's just too small here, and I've not kind of factored in. When I moved here, I don't know, it was just in my mind's eye. When I saw this room empty, it was bigger than it actually turned out to be, which is always the case. So I'm getting the extension made. I'm getting all the tabletop stuff put down there. And I mean, this place, it was fine to play like board games here, but it was really difficult to play like BattleTech, because you really need tables where you can stand at either side and you can kind of get round and see like line of sight and stuff like that. It was just difficult there. So bit of a change up, got a little bit more shelving, you can see there. So I've kind of moved the dust counters stuff here. Does give me more shelves, which means more purchasing. I'm really keen to get the new Warhammer 40,000 6mm game though, which I think should be out relatively soon. Like, I'm presuming it's going to be before Christmas. So I wanted at least one shelf for that, because I'm interested to see what the competition do. Games Workshop obviously do beautiful miniatures, and I'm really, really keen actually to get hold of the terrain for that, because that will be, presumably you'll be able to use that for both 40k, 6mm, whatever they're calling it, and BattleTech as well. Not the really elaborate Gothic stuff, but more like the factory industrial stuff, of which I have a lot of actually. And Games Workshop do some phenomenal. I say it's 6mm. Somebody said in the comments recently it was 8mm. So it might be slightly bigger, but it's still fantastic to run on a BattleTech table. And I think I'm going to leave that there. Just in terms of what schedule of the next few weeks, I've got like at least 3 videos to record this, either today, depending on times. I can do it this evening when I finish work. So you probably see me in the Goose t-shirt for the next few videos, because I'm going to try and just commit this evening to doing some recording. The reason for it is because I'm going to be very, very busy at work over the next 4 weeks, and I don't want to like drop off the kind of regular schedule. I'm also like a plug as well for DFA. We are currently recording season 2 of Jump Point. We've got 4 in the bag. We're recording 2 more next week. That'll give us up to 6. They all drop, or they'll start dropping every 2 weeks from October. We're planning on doing 16 episodes for season 2. Aaron and I spent a good chunk of the summer like going through like ideas, good chunk in terms of what we do for hobby, just speaking about episode ideas and things of that nature. So we've basically, like, for want of a better term, storyboarded 16 episodes. We're going to try and mix that in with some like news update episodes as well. So for instance, like early next year, if there's any news on like the Kickstarter, we'll do a jump point on, like if they announce that the products have been shipped or anything of that nature, I will, Aaron, Tom and I will kind of discuss that. So we've got some flexibility. So this will be a bigger season than the first one. The first one was 10. I think now we've really kind of got our ducks in a row with it, and I'm not gonna. I've got to be careful here, because I love the BattleTech content community. It's so good, and they ask for nothing. They give so much. But one issue that I have with a lot of the content creators in the BattleTech community is they just go on too long. You'll see it if you listen to like podcasts or you watch content. It's like in excess. Some of them are like 3 hours. And it's just a personal thing. Like, a lot of people may like that. I personally think it's just too much. Our kind of big push on Death from Above for Jump Point was to keep things pretty bite-sized. Bite-sized. So we basically tried to do like between 25-minute and 35-minute shows. We have like different segments as well. So obviously we do like the render blender. We're going to drop the news section, because we'll probably do specific episodes on news sections. But we'll just pick a theme and then we'll run with it. We'll do like the roundtable discussion, move on to kind of like we've got like little gimmick things that we've kind of developed a little bit from like the last season. And you know, again, obviously I am biased, but I think we have a format that is just very, very good and tight, and we've obviously got a good like editor in Chris who can kind of, and I think Aaron does some of it as well, where we can just go through and make it quite concise. I mean, you know, our episodes will always be about 45 minutes when recording, and then we only really have to like edit out 5 to 8 minutes or something to make it, in terms of where our brand placement is on times and what kind of like duration we're going for and things like that. Because any more than that, or if you kind of commit a 30-minute segment to something that's not relevant, I just think you lose your audience. So I just want to put a plug for Jump Point, because, and again, I'm biased and I'm quite arrogant anyway, so I'm going to say it. It is, to me, the best BattleTech show. We do really, and you know, there are some fantastic ones out. I mean, I'll plug other ones. I think Mech Bay is fantastic. The podcast, they've got a really good dynamic. The three guys there, I think they do a great job. They drop, I think it's like once a month. I usually get shows from them. On the good side of long as well, because it's once a month, they'll usually be like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, which I think is absolutely fine considering the format of their show, because they spend about 30-45 minutes doing like a roundup of news and hobby progress and stuff like that, and then they'll go into the meat of the matter. And you know, it's a podcast as well, so it's slightly different. I think when you're recording it and it's on YouTube, you've got to be more concise. You've got to be tighter, because you can't listen to YouTube as a podcast unless you've got unless you buy the premium. So we need to be acutely aware of that. So yeah, no, again, I'm not criticizing any other content creators. I just think that our format is. I mean, the whole idea of it is that you can do it when you're making brunch on a Sunday, because that's when they drop. So, like, you know, it's 11 o'clock, you've got a cup of coffee, you're waiting to go out for the afternoon or whatever, and you're a BattleTech fan, and you can just stick Jump Point on and watch us three, like, you know, have a bit of a laugh about BattleTech. So, that's the format. We're still going to continue with that. Again, we've got some new, interesting, exciting stuff going on, and, yeah, love recording them as well. Great lads, great experience for me to do that. I felt like it's been incredibly interesting to do. So I'll leave it there. That's kind of my roundup and my little plug there for DFA. Shouldn't be any interruption to service if I can get all my recording done. Also, just one final note, I'm still having issues getting like a SharePoint area where I can put the files for the campaign operations. So I think in the video that dropped, which will have been this morning, which was on campaign ops, I think I'd said in there, I'll try and get these files done at some juncture so, you know, people can see them. That will happen at some point. I just need to kind of research it a little bit and see what's best for me. Anyway, I'll leave it there. So I'll thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.